upheaval paralleling and intensifying the upheaval upon the physical plane can be traced the process of preparation which I have instituted among some disciples, thus hastening the period and point of attainment, provided I receive due cooperation from them. Discipleship in the New Age, vols. I and I. As regards the hierarchy itself, speaking esoterically and technically, its members, many of them, are being abstracted from the middle point of holiness and absorbed into the counsel of the Lord. In other words, they are passing onward into higher work and are becoming custodians of the energy of the divine will and not simply the custodians of the energy of love. They will work henceforth as power units, and not just as units of light. Their work becomes dynamic instead of being attractive and magnetic, and is concerned with the life aspect and not just with the soul or consciousness aspect. Their places are being taken under the law of ascension by their senior disciples, the initiates in their ashrams, and, under the same great process, the place of these initiates, who are thus being raised to more important work, is being taken by disciples and probationers. It is this truth, misinterpreted and shockingly travestied, which lies behind the teaching and the so-called ascended masters, put out by the leaders of the I Am movement, thus prostituting and bringing down almost into the realm of cheap comedy one of the most notable happenings which has ever taken place upon our planet. There is therefore, owing to the inflow of energy from extraplanetary sources, a general shifting of the focus of consciousness of embodied and disembodied lives at this time. This shift is one of the prime factors producing the present disruption. Students today are searching for the causes in human motives, in past history and in karmic relationships. To these they add the so-called factor of wickedness. All these factors of course exist, but are of lesser origin and are inherent in the life of the three worlds. They are themselves set in motion by far deeper-seated factors latent in the relationship between spirit and matter and inherent in the dualism of the solar system, and not in its triplicity. This dualism, as far as our planet is concerned, is profoundly affected by the will purpose of the Lord of the world and by the intensity of his one-pointed thought. He has succeeded in achieving a point of tension, preparatory to bringing about stupendous changes in his life expression, within his vehicle of manifestation, a planet. This point of invocation will be evocative of great happenings, and will involve every aspect of his nature, including the dense physical. This of necessity involves also all that concerns the human family, for in him we live and move and have our being. Those three words or phrases express the triplicity of manifestation, for being connotes the spirit aspect, moving, the soul or consciousness aspect, and living signifies appearance upon the physical plane. Upon that outer plane the basic synthesis of incarnated life is to be found. It will be apparent to you, therefore, that in this achievement of planetary tension it is not life in the three worlds that is the sphere of this tension, but the realm of hierarchical activity. The shift resulting from this point of tension, the moving, which is its consequence, is in the realm of soul experience and soul awareness. The secondary effect can be noted in the human consciousness by the awakening, which has been going on among men, and awakening to the higher spiritual values, to the trends and ideologies which are everywhere appearing, and to the clear lines of demarcation which have emerged in the realm of human determinations and objectives. These are all the results of great changes in the field of the higher consciousness and are conditioned by the soul of all things, lying largely in the realm of the anima mundi. Of this great sum total the human soul and the spiritual soul are but aspects or expressions. It is these changes in the moving, shifting realities of the soul consciousness and spiritual awareness of the members of the hierarchy which are responsible for the new trends in the life of the spirit and the new methods in training disciples in such an experiment, for instance, as externalizing the ashrams of the masters. It is this new approach to life conditions, as a result of the inflow of new energies, which is producing the universal trend towards group awareness, and its highest result in the human family is the taking the first steps towards group initiation. Such a thing as group initiation was never heard of prior to the present time, except in connection with the higher initiations emanating from the Shambhala center. Group initiation is based upon a uniform and united group will, consecrated towards the service of humanity and based upon loyalty, cooperation and interdependence. In the past, the emphasis was upon the individual, his training and approach to initiation, and his solitary admittance to the temple of initiation. But this individual concentration will, in the future, give place to a group condition which will enable several disciples unitedly to move forward, unitedly to stand before the initiator, and unitedly and simultaneously to achieve the great realization which is the result and the reward of successful discipleship. In the first thesis which I presented to the public, I outlined the rules for applicants, initiation, human and solar, pp. 192-208, summarizing the past propositions and indicating the individual preparation and requirements. These will now apply to the probationary groups of disciples, and not to accepted disciples. They must and will still remain the character and purificatory objectives of the dedicated individual, but are regarded as adequately grasped by humanity. They have been proclaimed by all the great world religions down the centuries and have been recognized as the main conditioning qualities of all disciples. These same rules or formulas of approach are the lower correspondences of higher rules to which groups of disciples are pledged to conform, and which they must follow and obey together. The hierarchy into which they will enter when full acceptance and demonstration have been shown will be the same hierarchy, characterized by the same soul awareness, animated by the same spiritual activity, functioning under the same laws, but conditioned by two progressive and evolutionary developments: 1. A much closer contact, invocative and evocative, with Shambhala, and therefore a fuller responsiveness to the will aspect of divinity. 2. An invocative attitude on the part of humanity, based on the fundamental decentralization of the selfish human consciousness and a rapidly awakening group consciousness. In reality, this means that the hierarchy will be more closely related to the Great Council at Shambhala, and very much more closely interrelated with humanity, so that a dual fusion will be taking place. This will bring about that integrative process which will be the quality of the new age, and will inaugurate the Aquarian phase of planetary history. I would now like to bring into a close relation the earlier imparted rules for applicants, and the new rules for disciples, embodying the new group activity, and group discipleship, resulting in group initiation. These rules are 14 in number. Today I will simply give you, first of all, the rule for the individual disciple, and then its higher corresponding rule for groups in preparation for group initiation, reminding you that such groups are ever composed of those who have taken the first initiation, and the name of these is Legion. They are to be found in every country. There are not, however, so many who are ready for the new era of group initiation. Rule I. For applicants. Let the disciple search within the heart's deep cave. If there the fire burns bright, warming his brother yet heating not himself, the hour has come for making application to stand before the door. For disciples and initiates. Within the fire of mind, focused within the head's clear light, let the group stand. The burning ground has done its work. The clear cold light shines forth, and cold it is, and yet the heat evoked by the group love permits the warmth of energetic moving out. Behind the group there stands the door. Before them opens out the way. Together let the band of brothers onward move out of the fire, into the cold, and toward a newer tension. Rule I. For applicants. When application has been made in triple form, then let the disciple withdraw that application and forget it has been made. For disciples and initiates. The word has now gone forth from the great point of tension. Accept it as a group. Withdraw not now your application. You could not, if you would. But add to it 3 great demands and forward move. Let there be no recollection, and yet let memory rule. Work from the point of all that is within the content of the group's united life. Rule II. For applicants. Triple the call must be and long it takes to sound it forth. Let the disciples sound the call across the desert, over all the seas and through the fires which separate him from the veiled and hidden door. For disciples and initiates. Dual the moving forward. The door is left behind. That is a happening of the past. Let the cry of invocation issue forth from the deep center of the group's clear cold light. Let it evoke response from the bright center, lying far ahead. When the demand and the response are lost in one great sound, move outward from the desert, leave the seas behind and know that God is fire. Rule IV. For applicants. Let the disciple tend the evocation of the fire, nourish the lesser lives and thus keep the wheel revolving. For disciples and initiates. Let the group see that all the 18 fires die down and that the lesser lives return unto the reservoir of life. This they must bring about through the evocation of the will. The lesser wheels must not for I revolve in time and space. Only the greater wheel must onward move and turn. Rule V for applicants. Let the applicant see to it that the solar angel dims the light of the lunar angels, remaining the sole luminary in the microcosmic sky. For disciples and initiates. In unison let the group perceive the triad shining forth, dimming the light of the soul and blotting out the light of form. The macrocosmic whole is all there is. Let the group perceive that whole and then no longer use the thought, my soul and thine. Rule VI. For applicants. The purificatory fires burn dim and low, when the third is sacrificed to the fourth. Therefore let the disciple refrain from taking life, and let him nourish that which is lowest with the produce of the second. For disciples and initiates. Let the group know that life is one and not can ever take, or touch that life. Let the group know the vivid, flaming, drenching life that floods the fourth when the fifth is known. The fifth feeds on the fourth. Let then the group merged in the fifth be nourished by the sixth and seventh and realize that all the lesser rules are rules in time and space and cannot hold the group. It onward moves in life. Rule VII. For applicants. Let the disciple turn his attention to the enunciating of those sounds which echo in the hall where walks the master. Let him not sound the lesser notes, which awaken vibration within the halls of Maya. For disciples and initiates. Let the group life emit the word of invocation, and thus evoke response within those distant ashrams where move the koans of the race of men. They are no longer men as are the masters, but having passed beyond that lesser stage, have linked themselves with the